presentation was recorded live at the Richmond Marriott in Richmond, Virginia for the 29th Annual International Association of Square Dance Callers Convention. This is tape number 14, First Class Night. My name is Jim Mayo, and here with me on the stage is Mr. Jerry Helt and Mr. Jerry Jestin. And we're talking about the first night of class. I'm more than happy to extend that to be first, second, and third, because most groups these days, most clubs that are sponsoring classes, keep the class available for new people to come in for 3 weeks, or 3 lessons, whatever that may be. And therein lies my first objection, because there's a strong tendency for people after that to say, no, you can't come in, we've closed the class, you should have been here last week, we won't take you in. And I think that's about as blind an attitude as you can possibly muster. If somebody wants to bring me a dancer 6, 8 weeks into the course, they're hard enough to come by these days, so I want to let them in no matter what. And I'm going to work very hard to do that. That leads me to one of the primary philosophies that I think we should have toward class, and that is to teach as slowly and cautiously as we possibly can during the early sessions. The last thing I want to do is to teach a whole lot of material on the first night of a class, because then anybody new that comes in the next week, I've got to reteach all of that, and 2 weeks later, if they still want to come in, I've got to reteach again. It's a lot easier if what I am teaching the first night is then little enough so that on the third night, when somebody new comes in, I can teach them the same things almost as fast. And you say, well, aren't the people that came the first night going to be bored? I go back to my theme for this convention, and maybe for the last decade, and that is that we have way overstressed the importance of variety and interest. Dancing is fun. And dancing is fun whether there are 87 calls or 8 calls, or maybe even 2. Moving in the company of your friends in time with the music is fun. Now, it's true that a lot of club sponsors will come to your class and say, oh, wow, these people are bored, you better teach them some more. I have been saying for quite a while that I never met a class member who was bored. And Mike Jacobs called me on that in the session we did the other day for Cal's pre-convention session, and said, well, that's not really true. I've seen a lot of dancers who were bored because the caller stood up front and lectured them. They're not bored of the dancing, but the caller is very boring and goes on talking to them when he should be teaching. That leads me to another important point about any party, whether it be a first night of a class or whether it be a one-night party. The less time you let things happen without music going and without people moving, the better. The objective is to let people shuffle their feet along in time with the music as much of that evening as you possibly can. And so we say, don't teach them very much. And by that I mean don't teach them a whole lot of calls. And let them dance all the time. Which says that it's very important for you to be able to let them dance lots of different shapes and directions and music with a very limited vocabulary. And that isn't impossible. The gentleman on my right is an absolute master at making a huge amount of dancing with virtually no calls. Oh, you object to being called a gentleman?
What'd you say, master? Oh, master.
Yes. It is possible with just one call or 1 or 2 calls to keep people dancing and to teach them a lot of very important things with a very limited vocabulary. I keep repeating the story, but I was absolutely blown away one night when we were staying with Max Forsyth, who's been calling forever and is no longer with us. But he was doing a Dude Ranch party. And he went to that Dude Ranch and he did the whole evening, a 2-hour evening of dancing, with one call. And the call was star. And he did 2 hand stars, and once you have opened the magic box of a 2-person star, the choreographic potential is almost unlimited. You can go on calling different shapes and feelings of dancing forever with just star. Left-hand stars for 4 people of the same sex or 2 couples. Right-hand stars, the same thing, feels a little different. Right-hand star with your partner, a left-hand star with your corner. With the opposite, a two-hand star that sometimes is called turn through. We have another observation that from wise men of the past. Ed Gilmore explained to me once that in square dancing there are not a whole lot of options. You can go around each other, or you can go by each other, either touching hands or not touching hands, and that's about it. After that, we're talking about combinations of these moves and the names we have given them, but the basic actions aren't very different. And so my philosophy for the first night says, keep it as simple as possible, to use as limited a vocabulary as possible, particularly for the first 3 weeks, and I regard them all as the first night, because with a little bit of luck, they will be the first night for some of the people who are there. I'd like to see some new people on the 3rd night of my class, and so I have to treat it as if it were the first night for them. The most important thing that I teach in a modern square dance class is how to listen. In our society, people do not know how to listen, and the evidence for that is on your television set. You may have noticed, because you are square dancers and you do know how to listen, that you very often hear the same ad played 15 seconds apart, twice or even 3 times in a row. That's because advertisers know full well that the American public does not know how to listen. And so they keep on putting it on you until it is absorbed, even though you haven't listened to it. As a square dancer, that drives me up a wall, because I heard it the first time, and I'm really annoyed that they keep on making me listen to it over and over again. But teaching people to listen is very important, and the way you do that is by changing the choreography. You do not call the same routines over and over again. You keep on changing the routine, but that doesn't mean you have to add new calls. You call different dance patterns with the same calls over and over again. And then when people come in the next week, you don't have to teach them a new turn. You do have to teach them how to listen, and you're improving the listening skills of the people who've been there twice. But that's the most important thing. I used to expect to spend the first 10 weeks making sure that people in a class were able to listen and did in fact pay attention and hear the instructions. I found that if I limited the vocabulary and concentrated on changing things so that they had to listen, that once I had taught them to listen, I could teach new things much more rapidly for the rest of the class. And so I could make up for the time I'd lost in not teaching a lot of calls early by being able to teach them better and faster later. Those are the most important philosophy issues that I would like to convey, and we have a gentleman here who does not only the first night of class, but also a lot of nights with people who have never seen dancing before, and a lot of those skills, I'm sure, are the same for a class as they are for a one-night party, and for that, Jerry Helt.
Thank you, Jim.
I don't have to introduce you, do I?
Wow. Well, that's up to
you. He knows it all. He's been around forever.
Let me see what this...
Small print.
Yeah. Looking at the listing, I was a little misinformed here. It says first class party. Is that right?
First class night.
First class night?
First night of class.
Well, I saw it listed as a first class party in one of these.
There's another one.
Another brochure. Well, I want to make it a first class party.
Okay.
We're going to have a first class party, folks. Okay, you ready? We're actually dealing, I assume, with a class that's already been maybe established, or this is the first night of a new group of people. Is this what we're working on? Okay. No, not necessarily. Yeah, short naps are wonderful. on that very first night, and I'm speaking for myself and probably most of these guys, that I want to be one of the people. When I walk in as a caller, I don't want to have a caller's outfit on with 9 badges hanging on me and my wife with a dress and her skirt up to you-know-what with petticoats and all that sort of stuff. I want to be as common as the people who walk in the door. I want to be dressed casual. I'm going to wear a little paper name tag like they have when they walk in the door. I assume that you give them name tags when you walk in the door. Do you not? What do you have on the back of that name tag? Blue? On mine it says Jerry L. Helt, Square Dance Caller, and here's my phone number, and I'm available for parties. Aha. So you might want to think of furnishing your own name tags for that class. We all have computers, and you can do that in about 3 minutes. You can have those little... Yeah. And have a little safety pin on it, pin the little name tag on it, and you advertise square dancing, or maybe you could advertise the club, whatever. Okay. So here I am, I'm in my casual clothes, I have my little name tag on, and I want to meet these people as they come in the door. So with Kathy, my wife, myself, we're going to stand at the door and greet. We're going to be the greeter. We're going to be there early enough to have the sound set up, everything ready to go, and I want to meet these people and shake their hand and say, how are you? You know, kind of like the old-time preacher a little bit. Make sure they're seated and make sure they know each other. Do you know John? Hi, how are you? Jerry, this is such and such, and make people feel at home. That's my job. I'm planting my seeds at that point. Now we have a problem, not a problem, but we have a situation where I think we have to consider, if you're working for a club, you probably will have angels. How many here have angels in their classes? Okay. How many have problems with the angels in the classes? Thank you. That little problem can create some really big, major problems as time goes on in your class. Actually, by rights, if you have 2 couples and Kathy, 1 person, that's 5 people, you probably have enough to cover most anything you want to cover in a class. Do you ever think of that? Now, we have some groups and some callers that think we really have to accelerate this class because we have a convention coming up where we got to get them through and get them through by May and get them into the club real quick. So let's put 2 experienced angel couples with 2 inexperienced couples and we can accelerate the class. Gosh, we can do teacup chain the second night. No problem. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. Because those same people that have gone through a class with all this pushing and shoving and help, from so-called help from the angels, wind up in their own little square the first night at a class somewhere or a club, and they really have a difficult time and they're embarrassed because they don't dance well, because they haven't got somebody there helping and pushing and shoving. So you have to make some sort of an agreement as a caller with the angels and with the club. How do we treat this? How do we do this? We know of cases where a couple of the angel couples took the group out in the hallway and taught them all the things that shouldn't be done. Like, you don't have to courtesy turn on chain, just turn them under. And when you do-so-do, you swing around do-so-do. And this is the way it's really done, you know. Now, if that doesn't confuse people, and maybe in many cases turn them off from coming back to the class, that's interesting. So consider that business with the angels of having a meeting, a discussion with those people to kind of set the ground rules. I think both of these guys right here will agree to that. The other problem that we seem to have, we have a singles. I don't know how many here have single ladies come into their class. How many furnish male angels to dance with the usually female singles? You get a few guys in there. I have a question for you. After they've gone through the class with an angel gentleman, let's say, what do those people do in the club? Yeah, they usually drop out. They have no partner to dance with. My suggestion is, if they really want to dance, let one of them dance the lead part. There's no sin in dancing a lead part. They may call you a man or a gent once in a while, but most people will take care of that. And I've got to tell of one of our daytime groups where we had a class. We had 5 squares in the class, which is great. One man. 1 man.
5 squares?
5 squares, 1 man. So what do? Do I tell these people, well, we're going to have to get somebody? Most of the ladies in that group, and a lot of them are dancing today, and this has been, I don't know how many years back. Over 15 years. A lot of these people are still dancing. The ladies dance the lead part with no problem. We don't get into the costuming and all that stuff because we're a casual group. We dance during the day. And the ladies are very happy doing that part. They've probably been married for 50 years and lost their partner, and they don't want to have another love affair with anybody, so dancing with a lady is just great for them. They don't have to get involved with this person, and they have a nice partner, and they have a good time. So you might consider having some of the ladies dance the lead part. If you
teach them as men and women?
We teach them actually how you get away from saying man run or boy run or male run, or male run wouldn't be too good, would it? You really have to apologize up front if a lady's taking a lead part, that it's in our language to say man, boy, male. We've tried leader, but what rhymes with leader? You think of anything? No, don't even think of anything. No, don't go there. Okay, so we've got the single dancer situation. We're going to have to settle that somehow. Either the caller's going to have to take control of that, or the club will have to take control of it somehow. But I think it's very unfair to have somebody come in, a male come in and dance with that female person, and then just turn them loose and say, it's all over, you get your own partner. And the guy says, I have to go back and dance with my wife. Sorry, I can't be your partner anymore. We'll get to questions and answers, okay? Hang in there. Okay, usually I think at any group of a party night, you would start as a big circle. We've been going through that with our CDP program, doing birthdays, doing promenade probably at that point. And from that big circle, we might do a little bit of a mix. Maybe from a promenade, gents move up one, ladies move up one. But it's not a wise choice, I don't think, to start doing major mixing with that crowd. In many cases, the couples come in and they have never had another man take their partner and hold her hand. Do you know that? And this is a new experience for a lot of people. So you have to be real careful about heavy mixing. Now, couple mixing, that's a different story. But mixing with your partner, I would be very reluctant to do much of that. Okay? It's always nice to demo things. I think there are probably 3 ways of learning to dance: by visual, by voice, and by possibly reading or have some pictorial thing of doing it. We have a system. I'm going to just do this little system for you, if I may. I used to do this with my wife, and I kind of got away from it. For example, if you do a promenade or you do a figure, it's always nice to show, I think you should show everybody in a class the incorrect way to do something and show the correct way, and then they have an answer. If some angel says, oh, you don't do swing around do-si-do, and the guy says, no, I don't do it because I get dizzy if we do-si-do and swing through. It stops. The buck stops there. So it's always nice to have somebody, and I usually, Kathy will do it, or I will do it, by putting on my name tag. My name is Donald Dingaling. And when I promenade just by grabbing her by the belt. And I'm not real bright, and I have a partner, Eunice Underfoot from Deflated Lung, Nebraska, who dances like that too. We just hang on to each other's belts when we promenade. So what you're doing, and some people promenade with their arm around, skirt skaters. It could be right over left, left over right. And at that point, you should say, here's the way we really do it, and put the hand over the right, hand over the left, or underneath the right, and give a reason why we dance like that. Does anybody know why you have the right hand over the left? Why? No. Wrong. When you right and left grand, what's the last hand you get before you promenade? Right hand. So that hand goes above and the left hand goes underneath. But then you got the guys who want to twirl them with the left hand. You know that story. Okay? So you give a reason why the right hand goes over the left. And throughout your dancing, through everything you're doing, it is nice to do that. Now, on a first night, if I got up to just promenade with that person, I might do the little Yuri Underfoot or Donald Ding-a-ling or Debbie Ding-a-ling or whoever it is to show what is correct and what is incorrect. And I think the buck stops there. It actually helps as far as angels. Angels will stop and say, well, you might be right about that. Do-sa-do and swing through and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so we do some teaching by example, by showing a little bit. Because the first night we're not doing, as Jim said, we're not doing a major class. The first night we are selling people on the idea that square dancing is a recreation. We're going to have a good time. We're going to meet some great people. And we're going to walk out that door as high as a kite. But you have to be, as a caller, you've got to get people up to move to music. One of our little problems that I see is that in teaching people to dance, a lot of people have never danced before. This is the first example of dancing, the first time they've ever had a chance to get up with somebody and move. And moving to music, which is a simple step in square dancing, and putting on a good piece of music in this giant circle that we have out here, to get people to move to that music. And this has to be a subconscious thing with the dancer. Long before you start heavy teaching of figures and all this. But it's another story out there. Reality is, I look at people doing a grand march, and 50% of them are not even moving to the music. They're just going, marching down the center. So somewhere along the way, we haven't taught them really to move to music and feel the music and dance to music. Long before we do all the figures and all the choreography. So that's something you do on that first night, is to get people in the circle. Circle left, circle right, feel the music. You don't have to count it out. Just get a nice piece of music that's very danceable, and they'll feel it. They'll move to it. You're standing there with somebody on either side of you that's moving to it. You'll go along with it in that circle. Okay, let's see. Moving along, folks, from the big circle, you probably would go to squares. And no long teaching in that first session. You might call it a class, but eliminate that teaching. Just let people dance. Let people have a party night. This is a fun night for you. You probably would continue those fun nights. Somebody said, well, third night, we got to close. We've got to close it up. If you could get a third more people into that class, would you close it at three? Why are you closing it at the third time? Why are you closing it the fourth time? Well,
get ready for the convention.
Got to get them ready for the convention, right? And I know of cases where they have a fairly good crowd, and eventually they dwindle. They're out the door. And probably because they weren't having much fun. Probably because they were taught pretty heavy. The guy, for callers, we think, grand square is the simplest thing you can do, isn't it? Not for the person that's never danced it. And there's a lot of other movements that are very difficult for people. Just little things that people have problems with. We take it for granted. Oh, yeah, I can teach that. I'm a big-time teacher. And be soft on these people. We want those people to come back. And when they come back, we want those people to come back with somebody, a new couple. So our suggestion is, let these people have fun. Let them have a feeling for the dance. Let them be a part of it. And you have to lay a little bit of a trip on them by saying, the only reason we have this square dancing and we have this much fun is because you people are here, and I know you have friends out there that would love to come and join us. And if you have some people, I have a little card here that I'd like to give you, a little free pass for our next dance. If you bring a couple with you, we'll get them in for maybe free or whatever, or half price. And on the back of that card, it has name, address, phone number, email, whatever it is, to keep tabs on that person. And these are passed out not by throwing them on the table and say, just pick one up. I'm going to walk over and say, Jim, how many friends do you have? And the guy will say, oh, I've got a lot of friends. How many of these little tickets you need? Okay? You divvy them out. Don't just throw them out there and say, help yourself. So that's one way to maybe establish some more people coming in to leave this class open to bring these people into that group. Okay. How's our time doing? Am I taking too much time, Jim? I don't want to take his time. This guy's mean, man. I mean, he's a tough guy. Okay, I think you have to stress the point that the group will be closed. You don't have to say when, but as you all know, folks, we're going to close the group. So if you have friends you want to get them in before our closing date. Is that a pitch? Yeah, it's a pitch. Sure, why not? I think you have to give a rundown of maybe some of the parties we'll be having. Now, classes usually start in September. Okay, we're going to have a Halloween party, and we'd like you to bring your friends to that Halloween party. Or we're having a Thanksgiving party. We'll be doing that. And give them a rundown of what we're doing party-wise. We're going to do some things with a little theme for it. That encourages people to come out and join us. It's a fun time. I don't know how you operate in charging people at a dance. Do most of you charge just as you go, every night you pay a certain amount of money? How many have one lump? You buy it in so many dances. Okay. For the year. Great. It's nice if you can get it in advance. Sometimes you should give them a choice of saying, if you get it in advance, you get a little break on the money. If you pay as you go, you're going to pay a little more. And most people, if they pay in advance, they're committed. They'll usually come back. Usually. Now, this is a touchy thing at the beginning. Some of them are not sold. I would venture to say, I'm going to say 40% of most people who are at a new class are not completely sold on square dancing. That might go as high as 60%. And usually the male population are the people that are not sold. They've been browbeaten into this. The wife has threatened them in many ways to get them out to do this dance. And he says, I'll go one time. By God, I'm not going back. You know. Can I say by God on this? No. Okay. Anyhow, the man is there, and he's not really sure about what's happening. In many cases, the man gets into a circle, and he joins hands, and he looks, and he says, I've been accepted. I've got a lady here. I've got a lady here. We're all in a big circle. We have to consider that person. He may be a little shy. And he's going to have a good time. And he'll walk out of there and say, hey, man, I want to do this again. Get your friends in. Okay, moving along, folks. Always stress the fact that you are the future of square dancing. I'm going to repeat that again and again and again. And again, let's go to the end of this evening. You should have, during the course of the evening, do a little trailblazing. Jim mentioned the fact that doing the two-hand star business, I really think that's a little easier to do than forearms for some strange reason. We found that by experience. You have the man face your partner, left-hand star, with your corner right-hand star, with your partner left-hand star. What have we executed? Do passo. Amazing. What if we had the heads go forward and with the opposite right-hand star turn half? And pass through, let's say. What would that be? Would that be a turn through? Turn through. Okay. So we're blazing trails. Blazing trails. And you should continue that through your first sessions to blaze trails. So when it comes time to do passo, partner left, corner right, partner left, a courtesy turn, whatever, you've established a lot of that. They've already danced that. They pre-danced that. You continue to do that throughout that class. Not just the first night, but all through the class you do that. Okay. And it's a fun thing. You do it on a fun level. About singing calls. How many do singing calls the first night? How many do it as a mixer and you get a new partner? Interesting. I would suggest doing singing calls without getting a new partner. You can do that. It's not, and people say, well, it's kind of boring, isn't it? These people are not bored with this. They can dance with the same partner over and over and have a good time. This is all a new ball game to them. The thing that you have to be a little careful of, again, going back to these angels, the angels are going to go to you and say, it's pretty boring tonight. Well, it might be for you, but not for the new people that are there. So you don't want that circulated within the group by saying, oh, we're all bored with this, you know. because some angel is probably bored. That's their problem. I guess you have a feeling I have a feeling about angels. Okay. Just to look a little bit, and I don't know if you are how many do the class for? Did I ask that before? How many do it for a club? How many do it independently? You're the head honcho. It may come to this that you may be the one to do the class instead of being hired in as a caller. If you do the class, you have a little more control over it. You're not going to have somebody holding up the list saying, we got to learn all this by convention time or by da-da-da-da. So let's look a little bit at the business end of that class, or probably that first night. Again, the cost, whether they're going to buy it as a lump sum or whether they're going to buy this as a pay-as-you-go. We need names, addresses, phone numbers, and so forth. You don't want anybody to walk out of that hall unless you have a paper trail on them. Please. I've seen this happen. They walk out. Did anybody get the name and address? No, I forgot. I thought you got it. No. You want to get that. That's very important. And we talked about the little tickets for future dances. You want to ask some of the people, I would say, who are coming back to you, would you help us be the greeter on the door? We greeted you last time. Would you come out and help us? A nice couple somebody who looks like they might be very presentable at the door. This gives them an opportunity to be a part of the group. We have problems today in clubs because we can't get any officers. Nobody wants to be an officer because they don't want the responsibility. And I think you have to give the dancer a little responsibility within that party night, within that class night. A little bit, to be a greeter, to kind of help us move the chairs or do something, which makes them a part of the activities, not just pay your money, walk in, do your dance, and walk out and say, bye-bye, then nice. Get these people to help you a little bit. If people miss a dance or miss it, you got the name and address, you might want to send them a card. We usually send 2 cards. If we don't hear anything after 2 cards, a phone call is next. And they'll say, we had to go on this trip, we went on a vacation, and we were away for 2 weeks, and we thought maybe if we come back we couldn't keep up. Come back, you'll be able to keep up. So, again, I want to go back and just say, in your class, keep it open till you have a capacity crowd in the hall, if at all possible. There's no sin in doing nice, easy stuff for 3 or 4 or 5 sessions. Nothing wrong with that. As long as you don't lose them and as long as you pick up people. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Helt probably calls square dances to people who haven't square danced before more than anybody else in the business. He's been at it a long, long time, and he's entertained a whole bunch of people who came one time to a square dance and went away saying, wasn't this fun? Jerry Jestin, on the other hand, calls in a different situation, considerably different, in the retirement villages in South Arizona, and he faces a different situation. Very often he has people who come back to him 2 or 3 times in a week, and that's got to be a scary proposition too. Jerry has experimented with some different teaching techniques in that environment, and he's here to tell us about it.
Thank you. I liked all the points so far, and I made little notes on here. When you come up with the angels, Jerry and I were talking on the stairwell a while ago. I've hated the term for so long that I finally got to the point where when dancers wanted to be angels, I said, I'm sorry, I don't have angels. And they'll look at you like, what? And I say, no, most callers, I said, only God can name angels, and most callers think they are, but I know I'm not. And get around that. Now, I've done classes without angels and asked them not to come as angels. I've done some experimenting with some different programs this year, but the material that I like to use is something that we've sort of lost in dancing, and Jerry hit on it, and Jim a little bit on it. Somebody gave me an old set of Ed Gilmore tapes some years back. As a matter of fact, they were on a tape that wouldn't fit in my cassette. And yes, those things. And Ed Gilmore used a lot of stars and circles, and we've lost that from our choreography for some reason. If you dance much to me, I use it a lot in all levels. I think it's just great stuff, and it's easy stuff for people to be moving. I've got an article coming out in the new magazine by GSI. I'm going to be writing it every issue, and it's starting with the beginners group and working through, and it'll be getting into the material and routines that I use at the dances. And that magazine is supposed to come out next month. And so if you might get into it, you might enjoy doing that, and it's got my email address and that if you got questions. I liked the idea that we're going to start out, I meet the people at the door, and I talk to them, and we make out little name badges for everybody as they come in, and I'm asking them where they're from. We get people from all over, and so it's kind of interesting. And so they're from Canada and all over the States. And so they're sitting around talking as we're getting people signed up, and I give the man a computer card, because I use computer cards right at the very first time they come. They don't know what these are. What is these? Well, I'll tell you about these. This is the way we're going to meet some new friends and have you dance with different people at different times. So I give that out right away at the very beginning. And so we got everybody in. They're sitting around, and I said, all right, I'm going to talk to you now. We're going to take your partner, the one you come with, and we're going to go into these squares, because they know that they were going to get into a certain area. Just, it's normal. You can say squares. We understand that as an English language. And we're going to take and make 4 couples, and you're going to take your partner, boys, and put her on your right side and take her over and form one side of this square with your couple. So I read the number off on the computer card, and I say, all right, go on the top here, and you find number 12. We've got 12 couples today. Go down to the first number underneath it. It's going to be a 1, a 2, or a 3. And I walk out on the floor, and I've got my wireless mic, and I say, okay, we're going to have all the people that have 1s come over and make this group here. All the people over here that have 2s, we're going to make this group here, and all the people over here is going to make this group. So I didn't put them in circles or anything, and we're just visiting still, basically. So they get out there. And we got them in the squares, and I've already told them to put the man has his partner on the right side. And the first thing I do now is I say, all right, here we go. Put the music on. And I said, this is some square dance music right here. And I've got a hoedown going. I said, all right, join hands, circle left. And I've got the music on. All right, circle to the right. And wait till you get back where you started. Now that's home. All right. 8 to the middle and you come right back. Circle to the right. I've already started training them to listen already, because I've changed it from what I did the very first time. Circle to the left till you get back home. 8 to the middle and you come right back. Circle to the left. Everybody, keep circling to the left. Keep circling to the left till you get back home. Man, we've already danced for a minute. And they have just got in their square. And I haven't had to tell them anything about a corner or anything right now. That's it. They're dancing. So we get them back home, and I say, all right, I take the music off just for a second. I say, how was that? That was great. You did wonderful. Now just remember where your home is right now, okay? Put the music back on again. All right, all the girls step into the middle. Join hands, circle left in the middle, once around till you get back home. Drop hands, back out beside your partner. Perfect, that was good. All the boys step into the middle, circle left. Now that's a little touchy, sometimes. But they've already got into the swing of it, and they understand that. So that'll overcome a lot of that, maybe of scared of doing that, because they know it. We've already circled left. We know how to join hands. And so we circle, we come back home. And then I do go back to the first one again. 8 to the middle, and you come on back. Circle to the right. All the way around till you get back home. All right, girls, into the middle, circle. And so I haven't even told them that they have a corner or anything yet, but they have a home and they're in a square. And we got 8 people, and they're dancing. And I might not even do anything else that first tip. Right there with the brand new people, that I would put on a singing call. And I'd pick a song that they hear on the radio, depending on which type of music they listen to. Something that would sort of, not necessarily be old, but something that they would probably have heard because it was a good song. And I put it on and I say circle left and I sing the song to them. When you get back home, let's stop right there. And I may not use the whole record, but I used a singing call with nothing more than home and 8 people in a square. Now we're going to have the 4 girls step in the middle circle. I'll do it as much as I can and sing as much of the song as I can. I want to pick a song that I know the words to so that it doesn't matter where I start with whatever thing I do. I don't have to have a figure that goes so many beats. And so we've done it, and I may stop it. I may not go all the way through because it's very limited, but you know, they got really good at those things already. And at the end of it, if you can end it, everybody up to the middle and back. All right, very good. Give yourself a hand. Everybody clap your hands. All right, we're going to just take a quick little break over here. Let's get a drink of water. Come on over, visit with everybody. And we're going to come right back and do this again. And I don't give them very long. And we get them out there and they're talking a little bit. All right. And I put some music on this time before I said. All right, let's look at the computer card now. All right, now remember what we do. We're going to look at the number I give you first. We're going to go get in our squares. Take your partner over there and get in your squares. Pick a side. Pick a place on that square where you want to be. And we're back there. I put on some different music and I do the same thing again. And boy, you know, they know that already. We're happy. We're happy because they've already done this and it's great. I shut the music down just for a minute. All right. Let's give us a name now. Let's give us a name where we are. I say, all right, if you got your back to me, to this wall here, you're facing me, you're called the heads. And what would you think you'd call the other people there? Well, we're going to call them the sides of the box, the sides. All right, so now we know we have some names. All right, here we go. Heads up to the middle and you come right back. And I got the music back on again right now. All I've done is taken it off long enough to get them to figure out who they are. Sides up to the middle and you come on back. All join hands, circle to the left and around you go. Get back home when you're there. All right. Now we've got some other ways now that we can talk to them, that they already understand, so that we can continue this training of them how to listen while they're dancing. All right, girls, I took the music off again. Here we go. And I'm only on the second tip. All right, girls, step into the middle. Now put your right shoulder towards the middle, and you know you're going to have some fudging because people turn the wrong way. All right, girls, put your right hands into the middle. We're going to make a star. You know, we're going to put your right hands in here. Now, girls, walk forward around that star. Around here. Make that star. Come on. Come on back. Now stand beside your partner. Now, boys, the girls did pretty good. Now, we haven't got the music. We got the music back on again because I just got them in the middle there and figured out that star. Now, boys, they're going to be smart because they saw the girls already do this. So, boys, step into the middle. Put your left hand in the middle. Uh-oh. The boys have already gone in there with their right hand. And so we've made them laugh a little bit now. We've really loosened it up. They're going to listen to me. I'm training them to listen. Now we're in there. All right, boys, star by the left, once around, come back, stand beside your partner. All join hands, circle to the right and around you go, and you get back home all the way till you get back home. Now, we just did something with heads and sides. We better reinforce that. Heads up to the middle and you come right back, and now sides up to the middle and you come right back. All the girls, star by the right in the middle, once around, get on the back, all the way, stand beside your partner. Boys, star by the left. I didn't change any of that now. I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to give it to them because now we're dancing again. We're moving on that. Now, I might not even do anything else that tip, and I'm going to put a singing call on, and I've got stars to get back to now. And I got another song that I can sing the words to. And I'm going to leave them at the end of this second tip, when that's all they can do. But they know that, and I can do heads up to the middle, back, sides up to the middle, back, circles. Yay, we're going to cheer. We get back, get them back on again. We're going to bring them back up for the third tip. Now, we're only on the third tip on the first time. And I'm going to talk a little bit about time now. Depending where you are, I know that sometimes if you're doing a dance, your lessons before a dance, you have shorter time. I think the shorter the better. Shorter and to the point, leave them wanting more. I've always believed in that. On it, we run our sessions for an hour of actual dancing with very little breaks. An hour of actual dancing. Now, we're in a different situation. I've got a tight schedule to work with. But I got them coming 15 minutes early. I'm visiting with them, and I got a 15-minute break before I got another group coming in, and those people sort of mill around. I take care of my extra people by asking for volunteers from my Mainstream and Plus dances that week before. I get there yes or no the night before, the day before. I want 3 couples to come in common clothes, and I wear common clothes, casual clothes, and I want them to come and just come in like they're part of the group. And sit down there with them and start visiting with the people, and they're talking to them, and I haven't given them a card or anything yet. They don't know that they're not just beginners too, because they haven't said anything. And so if I have 3 extra couples, I've got that covered, so I'm not going to have anybody sitting out. And I know what my computer cards do. I know where it spreads them out, so I give them the last 3 cards. I just walk over to them, and I'm visiting with the people, and I've got 1 extra couple, so I hand those other 3 computer cards out. Now I've got 16 this time. So I've got 16 with 13 couples of beginners, and I call the number, and we're back in, and we got everybody dancing. And those people, all that they do, I ask them not to push or do anything, and just to do exactly what I say, and they start dancing that way. What is happening is that I start getting repeat people coming back, and after 9 or 10 lessons, they were having so much fun and have made friends with some of these new people that they want to come back.
and I have to sort of say, well, I'd like you to, skip a week or something like that. So I don't want it to be a haggard movement on them. I don't want to get tired of coming. I want to keep it fresh for them. If we, talking about singles, if we have singles come in, I take their phone number down, and if I get more singles, I put them together. If a girl comes in, if we get lots of ladies, and they ask about dancing the male part, and they've got a partner who doesn't mind it, we do let them in. But I don't pair up same-sex couples and ask them myself. That's got to be their idea, okay? And they go as soon as I can. I let them back in. I get them paired up, and we phone. And we've had all kinds of couples that have met new friends because of that. I know I'm running long, and I got to get through with this. What we did this year is we started and we ran 7 sessions, 7-week sessions, and left it open. And never told them we were going to do. We were just doing square dancing. We're just doing square dancing. And what I found is happening. I said, bring your friends next week. Bring your friends. Now we're in a park or in a place where we got people coming and going every day, and they've got all kinds of things to do. And because they're retired now, they're trying to get these people to do things. They play golf and all those things. So I just wanted them to come back and have fun for that hour, and bring your friends. I left it open for 7 weeks, and each time I would go just a touch farther. And the teach really wasn't a teach. It was English after I taught them to learn. Because I didn't have to go and say, this is your partner, this is your corner. I did have to do it, but I could do it as we're dancing. We're back in our circles. We have our stars. Now we're going to teach you your partner and your corner, and it's a great deal because we're going to hug our corner. And now this little shy guy over here, boy, that lady hugged me. And he might have liked that, And they hadn't been hugged for a long time, and they're smiling. It's just great, and it's nothing hard. It's nothing hard except the caller working in to do it. So I did it for 7 times, and then I said we're going to start moving on with some of the material, and this is the last time. We want to go on with a little bit more, and so then we started to dance. And when I started to teach the moves at that point, they were so good because we had done circle 4 3/4, we had done circle 4 halfway, we had done a veer left, and we'd done a veer right, and we'd done bend the lines. Didn't need anything else because I can find my corner with that anytime. And I've used little sequences, and I'm going to be putting some of those in the future articles. Heads promenade 3/4, and sides circle 4 halfway, sides pass through, everybody circle 4 3/4. Make me a line up to the middle and back. Boy, I don't have to go very far to find my corner. When I did get that far, I'm skipping past the first night. And just to give you an idea on that. See if I got anything else on the notes here. I don't think so. On the first night, I might include in those, after I taught them to promenade, I would probably even include star promenades because it's English. And you'd be surprised how they could do it. And if I got a real good group, reverse your star is English. And they'll turn around and star the other way. And they're dancing something completely different. And it's great. Thanks.
I think we have a common approach to things. Teach as little as possible, and it's amazing what you can do with very, very little on the first night. I have been sometimes astounded at what callers managed to fit into the first night. They tell me they were able to keep it down to 6 or 8 new calls. And I find myself wondering, okay, how much trouble are you in the next night when you've got new people who've come in for the first time? One new idea for me is the idea of having me show up the first night in plain clothes. Great idea. I love it. New ideas for everybody. It's time now. We have to have somebody manage our traveling mic for us. Is it working?
One. Test.
It's working. We got questions. I got one right here. Let's open the floor to your questions and observations and comments. Want to take the mic? Be sure everything gets on the microphone or I'll get shot.
Dave Muller from Enterprise, Alabama. When do you start dressing like a caller? That might seem a little silly to ask, but is it? So far, I'm getting the idea is to ease things in, no matter what you're doing, a little bit at a time, so there's no real culture shock. Everything from coming plain clothes to wearing a paper badge so everybody looks the same, teach as little as possible, so people become comfortable because they have to learn how to listen as well as learn the calls, etc. So I'm getting the impression that it's easing, no matter what you're doing, a little bit incrementally. I agree with all of that. I have to admit I've come into conflict with the clubs that I teach for. That there is the conflict that the club says, okay, we want people to learn this many calls by this many date, by this certain date. They will go out and teach people out in the hallway what I already taught them, but they're teaching them their little bit, their own style. So I guess what I'm asking, am I correct that it's incrementally easing every aspect? But how do you deal with the club that is asking the hard sell questions as the ones who's actually hiring you? I know what I'd like to tell them, but
well, what I do and what I explain to you is we're our caller run because we're working through the park, so everything is our own. But I have had the situation when I was living and was hired by callers, and when I taught my first set of lessons in Fort Worth, I did this. Had a rapport with the executive, and I asked them I went in and visited with them before we set lessons up, and set this ahead that I did not want everybody coming to lessons. And we talked about it, the situation before it ever became, and I said, this is what I'd like to do, and I said I'd like to have people sign up, 3 couples sign up each time to come and be there in plain clothes and just take the lessons. And so that wasn't a culture shock to them. Now, if your club says no right away, then you've got a decision to make. But I really, if you're reasonable with most people are reasonable if you can reason out things.
Let me add a little something to that, if I may. Let's look down the road. Let's look ahead 20, 30 years. Are we going to have a square dance activity then? You think we'll have it 20 years from now? It doesn't look promising, does it? At this point, the dancers are pretty much operating square dancing, right? You're the hired hand. That's going to change, folks. If we want this thing to survive, I have to look at it because I'm a professional. I live off of square dancing. That's my income. And I think callers, we're going to have some leadership things. We're going to have to learn about promoting square dancing. We're going to have to learn about the business side of square dancing. We're going to have to take the ball if the thing's going to go. Because the dancers have pretty much, shouldn't say this, but they have kind of failed us. They want you to go in and do, here's the list. I want you to have these people square dancing in 10 weeks. Can you do it? There's no way. There's no way you can do it. So I think we as callers are going to have to change our ways. We're going to have to look at it from a different aspect. Thank you.
I certainly agree with all of that, but one additional thing I mentioned that I have found that if I teach much more slowly and spend a lot of time concentrating on learning to listen in the first 3 or 4 weeks, that I can move along more rapidly. And I can use that as an answer to them when they say, why didn't you teach 6 new calls tonight? I've had a lot of experience, and I find that the end result will be better if I take more time at the beginning to teach them the fundamentals of how to move and how to listen carefully. And I've been able to con the clubs with that in the past.
Let me reinforce. I'm Dick Kurtz from Gloucester, Virginia. Let me reinforce this thing about talking to your angels that are coming. I had a bad situation a couple of years ago where I failed to do that. And my club has a history of having all of their last year's dancers come and be angels. Sometimes that's not too good, but anyway, what happened is I made the statement at the class that, look, I said, you got 6 or 8 single ladies here. I said, if you ladies, we're going to furnish you these ladies' husbands to dance with you, but when it comes time to graduate, I said, they're going back to their wives. I said, I would suggest that one of you ladies act as a gentleman, really, in the square. And they didn't come to me directly, but they came to my wife and said, hey, you're trying to drive away all these ladies that we recruited for this class. So, but talk to your angels and let them know what you're going to say before you go into that spiel about dancing with the same-sex partners. Thank you.
Certainly good advice. Do we have any other questions? And do tell us who you are before you...
Donnie DeVore from South Carolina. One thing that we are being pressured on the clubs is a financial situation. The clubs are having to pay more rent now. The clubs are getting smaller with less income. So they are putting pressure on us to try to get these classes finished up as soon as we can. And that's not helping our situation any. Do you have any suggestions on that?
Let me say this. In a class situation, if you jack the price to $10 a person, I don't think there'd be any problem. The problem would be the club saying, oh my God, you can't charge these people that kind of money because, we dance for $4. The new people, that's where you're going to start the change as far as upping the price. We're way below price. You look at the halls we have. Gasoline, transportation, everything is doubled, tripled, but we're still back there going, well, we'll get it for $3, or $1.50.
For my hour session, I charge $3 per person, right from the first time, for $1 a person or $3 a person, and they know no different. They have no idea, and they have no complaints if they have a good time. Sell them. It's the people that are already in the activity that want to raise their price.
Let me say this too, that we have people, I know in certain areas, dancers that brag that they dance 3 nights a week for free because they go angel all the classes. That's not right. That is not right. And my feeling is, if you have an angel come in, I think they should be charged for it because they're having as much fun as anybody else.
And just to add on to that, if I get a couple or a person who used to dance bringing in a new partner to go through, I don't consider them angels. I tell them I have no angels and that everybody pays. And the only 3 couples that don't pay are my choice, and they're the only ones that know they don't pay. I charge everybody else, whether it's one half of the couple or not, that already knows how to dance.
Hi, Chris Day from Manchester, England. This autumn we had a good intake of new dancers and a lot of ladies and very few couples. And the committee went round and said, who would like to dance lady, who would like to dance man? And they made up their own minds, and we didn't say turn them away or anything. And we should keep those ladies rather than the couples. But we have kept the majority of those dancers. And if we have ladies that want to dance lady, they're delicate and they want to dance lady, full stop, and they haven't a partner, what we say, I know it's unorthodox, but we say get in a square and one of the club dancers will come and dance. A fellow will come and dance with you. It's not committing an angel to dancing with that lady all the year or the whole time till they graduate. And they're quite happy.
Yeah.
And I dance man all levels. I don't dance lady.
I usually
That's great.
That's good. Congratulations. Nice to have you here. Kathy usually she danced. She went through the class dancing the lead part or the man's part, and I usually make reference to Kathy by saying she dances both parts, so you can dance both parts. Why not? And so we've had some ladies who have gone through the class doing the man's part and going back through again doing the lady's part. Because if you can dance both parts, you'll never sit out. The lady from England has her hand up again back here. Get the mic to her. Don't go away. Hang on to that cigar.
Sorry about that. When I'm in a square and I'm dancing the man's part, I can see it from both sides, having danced the lady's part, so I can encourage the dancers that are struggling to tell the man, right, you do this, you do that, to a lady, you do this, and it does help. Just a bit of encouragement saying, yes, you've got it right this time, and it helps.
There's another side to this, that we have some callers that absolutely hate it if 2 ladies dance together. I've heard of callers telling the front square to move because they had 2 ladies together, move to the back because they couldn't sight call off of them. That's pretty bad. They better go back to caller school.
Yeah. I'm going to Japan in October, and the caller there that hired me said we have I think it's 68% women in their club, and they wear matching clothes besides. And he says, don't start out sight calling, is what he said. Have something ready.
I'm Jerry Sossman from Cornelius, North Carolina. And you don't recommend last year's class coming back as angels?
If they come back, I'd charge them, because it's a dance. Set it up as a dance. Every one of those has got to be ran as a dance, as a party. If you can run your lessons that way, you're going to have the people from the club wanting to join you and come to have a good time. Some of the helpers that I do get enjoy it immensely. They just begin to really like it, and they make friends there.
That's true. I got one couple in my class now, and they're going through for the third time as angels. They never miss a class night.
Mm-hmm.
Pay their dues to the club. Don't come to the dance too often, but they come to class night.
Many, many years ago, that happened to us in a lot of classes. There were a lot of people who repeated classes, and we didn't charge them originally. The club got thought that they wouldn't keep coming, that the reason they were coming to the class was because it was free. I think we missed a very important message. I think those people came to that class because that's the kind of dancing they wanted. The club got bent out of shape and started charging them and telling them, not really letting them come. They sort of said, you aren't welcome here. And we lost those people. I think there's a message that kind of easy dancing is what a large group of people would like to do if we would just encourage them to do it. We've done differently, and I believe it's cost us quite a lot. The message they're sending is, we don't want to dance what you're doing with your club people. We're having a much better time here in class. One of the things that's very different in class, we work our tails off all the way through class to assure that everybody succeeds. They graduate, get a certificate, go to a dance, and that's the last time they get any help from the caller. From then on, they're going to break down half the night. In almost every modern square dance, half the floor is broken down half the time. That's why some people would rather dance in class.
Let me add just something to this. This problem of having the class merge with the club, you lose people like crazy. A suggestion for you, and we've worked this, and it works really well. Have a night at the class when you invite the club to come in and join you. And have it set up with the greeters and the refreshments. And show these club people that we are organized and we have a good time and this is a party. It will stimulate the club to say, we'll get these people back to our club and we'll show them what really a party is. Put a little competition in that. Let the club come over and join that class and dance with you.
On those same lines, what we did this year, I had a few beginners come back to the same area again from another year, and they wanted to go back to beginners again. And they, of course, they see the dancers and the party dances and stuff like that. And I got to thinking, we're not being real fair to them. So what I did was, by mouth, I advertised. I said, all right, this Saturday, we're going to have an afternoon party for y'all. And we're going to have hot dogs, and y'all can bring finger foods. And I'm going to invite the other dancers. But this is your party. And this is the time. And we want you to plan on this. And so then I went by word of mouth that week to all of my workshops and all of my classes, and I announced we're having it. Never made a flyer up. And I said, you're welcome to come to our party dance. This time we're going to be serving hot dogs. Now that was the enticement, because they're going to pay at the door like everybody else. And my only stipulation was no square dance clothes. And I ended up that day with 10 squares. We didn't know how to buy the wieners. Fortunately, we were close to a Walmart, so we could go buy the wieners after the dance started.
The one thing I'd like to add about that now, when I have a new class going, just before we have our halfway dance or party night or whatever, I give the new dancers a real strong lecture about them being the host and the hostess, and that there'll be other new dancers there, and they'll be just as scared and afraid and hesitant as they are, and I want them to make them feel welcome. I want them to dance with them. I want them to thank them for coming when they're leaving, because I had an experience shortly after I graduated. I went to a club dance first time my wife and I ventured out by ourselves. And the only thing those people said to me for the first 45 minutes I was there was, $3, please.
We have had lots of discussion going on here, and we're very, very pleased that you came. We're going to aim for a shutdown so that there's time enough for the Birds of a Feather party to set up. We hope that you've had a good time. We hope that we've shared some new ideas. I've gotten a couple of new ideas myself, and I want to thank the Jerry Show for sharing in this operation. Thank you all for coming.